Welcome to Simply Mindful. I'm your host, Maya. Today, we're embarking on a transformative journey into the very essence of true internal self-assurance. Have you ever experienced that sudden surge of motivation, that fleeting moment where you feel absolutely fired up, ready to reinvent yourself and conquer the world, only to find that just a few days later, you've somehow drifted back into your old patterns? It's as if your initial resolve simply evaporated, leaving you exactly where you started, feeling perhaps even more discouraged than before. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know that it isn't a failure of character. There is a profound biological reason for this cycle. Real, sustainable change, the kind that fundamentally alters how you move through the world, isn't just about grit or temporary willpower. It's not about forcing yourself to be brave for a single moment. Rather, it is deeply rooted in the physical architecture of your brain. To truly transform your life, we must talk about the intentional creation of new neural pathways. This brings us to a cornerstone of modern neuroscience, neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's remarkable inherent ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout your entire life. Think of your brain not as a rigid, finished product, but as a dynamic and malleable landscape. It is constantly being reshaped by your experiences, your thoughts, and most importantly, your intentional actions. You are the architect of your own mind. However, building a new road in the brain, shifting from a default state of self-doubt to a state of embodied confidence, requires two critical catalysts. The first catalyst is consistency. Imagine a vast field of tall, wild grass. If you walk across it just once, the grass might bend slightly, but it quickly springs back to its original form. But if you walk that same exact path every single day, eventually the grass stays down. A clear, visible, and permanent trail is formed. Your nervous system functions in much the same way. When you repeat a thought or an action consistently, you're essentially paving a neural highway. The more you travel it, the more effortless and automatic that behavior becomes, until it becomes your new default setting. The second catalyst, which is often overlooked but perhaps even more vital, is emotional resonance. This is the anchor for your new neural pathways. For the brain to prioritize a new connection, it needs a strong chemical signal. Whether it's a small spark of pride, a sense of relief, or the quiet thrill of overcoming a minor fear, these feelings act like a biological highlighter. When you engage your emotions, you trigger the release of neurotransmitters that tell your brain, this moment matters. Pay attention, hardwire this. Without this emotional engagement, the practice remains hollow, purely intellectual, and is easily dismissed by the deeper parts of your subconscious. This leads us to the power of a structured 21-day practice. Now, let's be clear. 21 days is not a magic number where a switch suddenly flips and you are magically cured of doubt. Instead, it serves as a foundational framework, a window of opportunity to establish deep-seated neurobiological momentum. The goal here isn't intensity, it's about micro-habits. Instead of an exhausting, unsustainable overhaul, we focus on 10 to 15 minutes of intentional practice each day. The secret lies in bridging the gap between your cognitive thoughts and your somatic experience, which is how that confidence actually vibrates within your body. So, how do we structure this 21-day blueprint? We divide it into 3 distinct developmental phases, each building upon the last to create a solid foundation. Week 1 is dedicated to cognitive deconstruction and perception shifting. Before we can build the new, we must carefully audit the old. This first week is about identifying and dismantling the limiting beliefs that act as heavy anchors on your self-esteem. I want you to start by externalizing these thoughts. Grab a journal and write down exactly why you feel unconfident. Don't filter yourself. Let the raw thoughts out. By bringing these subconscious shadows into the light of conscious awareness, you begin to see them for what they truly are, mere stories and past conditioning, not absolute truths. We are looking for the root of your interoception, the way you internally perceive and interpret your own internal signals. Simultaneously, we begin to reactivate what I call your evidence log. Reflect deeply on moments in your past where you were resilient. Look for the times when you faced a challenge, however small, and you survived it, you navigated it, you reached the other side. By consciously recalling these victories, you are essentially relighting the dormant circuits of courage in your brain. You are reminding your nervous system that you already possess the latent capacity for strength. It just needs to be dusted off and practiced. You are clearing the old clutter to make room for a new, empowered narrative. As we transition into week 2, our focus shifts from deconstructing the past to actively architecting the future. This phase, spanning from day 8 to day 14, is centered around a powerful neurological tool known as mental rehearsal. You might ask, can I really build confidence just by thinking? The scientific answer is a resounding yes. In the realm of psychology and neuroscience, mental rehearsal is far more than mere daydreaming. It is a sophisticated method of priming the brain for peak performance. I want you to dedicate at least 5 to 10 minutes each day to this practice. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and enter a state of deep relaxation. I want you to project a high-definition mental movie of yourself navigating a situation where you typically feel a lack of confidence. Perhaps it is standing at a podium, leading a high-stakes board meeting, or simply engaging in a difficult conversation with a loved one. The secret to making this effective lies in the level of detail. Do not just watch yourself from a distance, experience the scene through your own eyes. This is what we call an associated perspective. Notice the lighting in the room, the texture of your clothes, the subtle sounds around you. Most importantly, you must integrate your somatic responses. What does confidence feel like in your physical body during this rehearsal? Feel your spine lengthening, your breath becoming steady and deep, and your heart beating with a calm, rhythmic strength. This is where you engage your proprioception, your brain's sense of its own body and space. By feeling the confidence as if it is happening right now, you are sending a powerful signal to your nervous system. The reason this works is truly fascinating. Neuroimaging studies have shown that when we visualize an action with intense focus and emotional clarity, we activate the exact same neural circuits, the motor cortex and the limbic system, that are engaged when we perform that action in physical reality. To your brain, there is very little distinction between the rehearsal and the reality. By practicing in your mind, you are effectively pre-wiring your brain. You are building the neural muscle memory of being confident before you ever step foot into the actual situation. You are essentially lowering the threshold of fear, making the real-life transition feel like a familiar path rather than a terrifying leap into the unknown. During this week, you might also find it helpful to engage in a technique involving your non-dominant hand. Have you ever tried writing with the hand you don't normally use? It feels clunky and requires an immense amount of focus, but there is a biological purpose behind this. Using your non-dominant hand forces the brain to step out of its autopilot mode. It demands higher engagement from both hemispheres and stimulates the prefrontal cortex. When you use this hand to write affirmations or statements about your evolving identity, such as, "I am becoming a person who speaks with clarity and courage," the message bypasses your usual mental filters. It sinks deeper into the subconscious, anchoring your new identity with much more force than standard repetitive thoughts ever could. This second week is about creating an internal prototype of your best self. You are training your nervous system to recognize confidence as a safe, natural, and attainable state. You are no longer just thinking about being confident. You are beginning to vibrate with the frequency of a person who trusts themselves implicitly. Now that we have meticulously prepared the mental soil in weeks 1 and 2, we arrive at week 3, the phase of embodied action. This final week, spanning from day 15 to day 21, is perhaps the most crucial stage for making your transformation permanent. This is where we move from the thinking brain to the doing brain, providing our nervous system with concrete physical evidence of our new identity. In neuroscience, there is a famous principle known as Hebb's Law: neurons that fire together, wire together. While mental rehearsal builds the blueprint, physical action is the construction crew that lays the actual bricks and mortar. Every time you take a real-world action that aligns with your confident self, you are physically strengthening those new neural pathways, making them thicker and more resilient against your old habits of self-doubt. However, the key to success here is not to force yourself into overwhelming situations. We are not looking for a heroic leap that might trigger a massive stress response and cause your nervous system to retreat. Instead, we focus on incremental expansion. We want to challenge your comfort zone just enough to promote growth, but not so much that we activate a fight or flight shutdown. I want you to identify small, low-stakes opportunities to practice your new state of being. These are moments where the risk is minimal, but the neurological reward is high. For instance, it could be something as simple as maintaining soft, steady eye contact during a casual conversation, rather than looking away. It could be offering a brief, supportive comment in a team meeting, or asking a single question during a seminar. The specific action matters less than the energy behind it. You are practicing the feeling of being seen and heard. As you perform these micro-actions, you must remain acutely aware of your interoception, the internal sensations in your body. Notice if your chest tightens or if your breath shallows. Instead of judging these sensations as fear, try to reframe them as arousal or readiness. By staying present with these sensations and proceeding anyway, you are teaching your amygdala, the brain's fear center, that these situations are actually safe. You are literally desensitizing your fear response. Another vital component of this final week is the feedback loop. Every evening, I want you to document your progress, but don't just list what you did. Record how it felt and the thoughts that followed. When you write down, "I shared my idea today, and even though I felt a slight tremor in my voice, I finished my sentence," you are consciously acknowledging your growth. This act of reflection triggers the release of dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward and motivation. This creates a positive feedback loop that encourages your brain to repeat the behavior. You are essentially telling your subconscious, "Look at this evidence. I am no longer the person I used to be. I am a person who acts with courage." This is the process of identity consolidation. You are no longer trying to be confident. You are observing yourself being confident. You are shifting your self-concept from someone who is fearful to someone who is capable of navigating fear. By the end of this third week, these small actions will have started to coalesce into a new, more empowered baseline for your personality. You are physically and energetically building a new version of yourself, one small, intentional choice at a time. As we conclude this 21-day journey, it is important to reflect on what has actually transpired within you. What we've discussed isn't a mere self-help hack or a temporary boost in mood. Through the systematic application of consistency, emotional resonance, and incremental action, you have participated in a profound biological restructuring. You have moved beyond the surface level of feeling confident and have entered the realm of trait-level change. By the end of this period, you may begin to notice subtle yet significant shifts in your daily life. Perhaps you find yourself hesitating less when faced with a decision. Maybe you realize that a situation which used to trigger a wave of anxiety now only produces a faint ripple of excitement. This is the result of your neuroplasticity in action. You have successfully pruned away the old inhibitory pathways and strengthened the new empowered circuits. True confidence, as we define it here at Simply Mindful, is not the absence of fear. It is the development of a resilient nervous system that can hold fear and still move forward with grace. It is a skill, a neural muscle that you have now learned how to flex and strengthen. But remember, this 21-day blueprint is just the foundation. The brain is a use it or lose it organ. To maintain this new state of being, you must continue to nourish these pathways. Confidence is not a destination you reach. It is a way of traveling. It is a constant dialogue between your mind and your body, a constant practice of listening to your internal signals and choosing to act in alignment with your highest self. Before we part today, I want to leave you with a powerful reflective prompt to anchor everything we've learned. I want you to envision the person you are becoming, the version of you that is fully embodied, clear-headed, and authentically confident. What is one small, seemingly insignificant action that this future you would take today? Perhaps it's a change in your posture, a specific way of speaking, or a boundary you've been meaning to set. Whatever it is, I invite you to do it. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, but right now. Every small act of courage is a vote for the person you are choosing to be. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the neuroscience of the self. If you found value in today's session and want to continue exploring the intersections of mind, brain, and intentional living, please consider subscribing to our community. Your support helps us continue to bring you these deep, evidence-based insights. Feel free to share this with someone who might be on their own journey towards self-mastery. And don't forget to hit the like button if this resonated with you. I'm Maya, and you've been listening to Simply Mindful. Stay present, stay intentional, and remember, your brain is designed for growth. Until next time, take care of your mind, and it will take care of you.